Alright, welcome back to another video. So today we're going to be reviewing the Imaginarium. Is that how it's said? Who knows? Their little feeder. So right before we start this video, this is my rescue turtle, Atticus, who will be performing this review for us. Just in case anyone does take notice, because Atticus is a rescue turtle, he currently has some stuck shed on him. So if you see white patches on his shell, it's actually not shell rot. It's places where air has trapped up underneath the loose scutes, because they're kind of coming up, but they're not completely off yet. So that's why his shell does not look in the best condition. So if you have any suggestions or knowledge on how to help a turtle go through some shed, please let me know in the comments down below, because I have yet to find an effective way to help him shed it off. And I will also be posting an update video on Atticus once I've had him for 6 months to let you guys know how he's doing. If you want to watch the video where I talk about his story, it will be linked in the description box below. So now let's get into this review. So the Imaginarium feeder is basically this little green ball that you fill with food and then you put it into the turtle's tank. It takes in some of the water so that it's partially submerged. However, it has this little top so that way even if the turtle flipped it upside down, it would still stay above the water because science. And it has these little holes that the food that you put inside of it will come out when the turtle hits it. So Atticus immediately got the gist of it. He can see the food through the ball, so he started hitting it. However, sometimes animals just aren't that motivated when they have to do work for food. That pellet is floating away from him, and he's just like, well, that sucks. And then he kind of gave up. So definitely, I think that this might not be for all turtles. This might be hit or miss, but Atticus is pretty food driven like most animals. So even though he kind of gave up here and looks sad, he jumped back on the horse. So I actually ran 3 trials with this thing. I did one with his staple pellets that he's on, which are these round Zoomed pellets. They're the maintenance diets for adult aquatic turtles. And I also ran it with some Tetra pellets that I'm not really a fan of that he came with, his shrimp, and some kale. So this, I believe right now I had a mixture of the shrimp and his typical pellets that he eats in a day. And as you can see, of course, he's gonna go for the shrimp immediately because he's a little piglet. But one thing that you can probably notice throughout these videos is, that he keeps trying to go towards my hand. So I had to remove myself from the room a couple of times to let him go through and see if he would actually finish eating out of that, because he knew that if he begged food from me, he would get it immediately without having to put in any work. So you can see him kind of looking at me throughout these videos like, hello, food please? One thing I will say though, his Zoomed pellets absorbed all of the water and just sank to the bottom of it. They do tend to be very absorbent, and once they get that water in them, they get heavy and sink. So I figured those were not the best pellets to put in there, at all, because he would not be able to get them out. So then I tried these Tetra floating turtle sticks. This is the food that his previous owner had him on. It's not a horrible food, but it is not good for adult turtles. It's very high in protein. However, for an every so often kind of treat thing to stimulate him, it's not a bad deal. As you can see, these came out way nicer. They don't sink when they get too wet, they just get kind of flaky. But they all kind of slipped out almost too easily to where I was like, Atticus would have this thing dumped out in 2 seconds because he just loves food and they fly out so easily. And now he's begging for me again because I'm a sucker and I will give him food if he asks nicely enough. And look, you can see how messed up his shell is. I'm so sad about it, but it will fix itself eventually, maybe. I don't know. Please help me. Completely disinterested in anything except for a new way to get what he wants. And I'm trying to get him used to petting. He literally threw this entire tantrum just because I barely touched him. So, he doesn't have to be perfect with petting, but I want him to get a little bit better. But he ate some food, so he was fine. He's just dramatic. So now I believe this was the trial with just the shrimp, and the shrimp was the way to go. It was definitely the best option because it doesn't get heavy and sink to the bottom of the container when it gets wet, and it also isn't as messy as the pellets. It tends not to flake or to get very like gross when it gets wet. It also fits through the holes pretty nicely, and it's definitely obviously more of a favorite treat of his. So then I tried a fourth trial with kale. It was definitely a long shot because Atticus eats kale, but he'll only do it if I feed it to him first before anything else. Because once he's tasted the good stuff, he doesn't want kale anymore. And you can just tell by the look on his face that he did not care that I just gave him kale. Like, he was disappointed. Like, is he really gonna put in the work for a salad? No. But I'm sure if given enough time, he definitely, would take the bait because he loves eating so much. It doesn't really matter. And I don't know if the filter sucked it up or he ate it all, but when I came into the room after a little bit, all of the kale was gone, so it went somewhere. There's his just like, seriously, is this really happening face? Like, you rescued me just to feed me kale? Yes, yes, I did, sir. You can be a little bit more thankful about it. I guess it's just like the cutest little thing I've ever seen, and I'm definitely gonna make more videos with him and how I actually got him to eat kale because he used to refuse to eat it and now he eats it. So this is just an updated video trying to make sure that he knows how this thing works. As you can see, shrimp is definitely the best thing for his feeding response. It gets the most activity out of him, which is definitely what you need in this toy, because if your animal's not very food driven or if they're not really interested in the food you put in there, it's not gonna work. It's just gonna sit there and make a mess. I'm trying this feeder for when I go on vacation. I'm just curious to see how he will do with it for a few days, but I definitely don't think that this is like a staple like feeder for when you're gone for a long time. I'm probably just gonna use this more as a toy for his proteins whenever he's eating them on occasion. That way he can get some stimulation and stuff. Whenever I look at like my crusty geckos, I always get kind of sad for them because I'm like, well, they don't get like toys. Like, I'm used to giving my cat toys and stuff. So I really like that there's like a little turtle toy for him to get some energy out and kind of work his brain and definitely stimulate him, because I mean, I feel like it'd get boring just swimming in circles every day. So this is definitely a fun option. I love this because he's like, is camera food? And then he's like, no, camera is not food. I swim away. Like, just this cutest freaking little thing. One thing I would say is there can definitely be some drawbacks to this, like I mentioned before, if your animal isn't food motivated. Also, sometimes Atticus just doesn't see things floating past him, so it definitely has the potential to make a mess in his tank if he's not paying attention. And for people who feed outside the tank, I'm not really sure how they would deal with this. However, I think that the mess that it makes is worth the enrichment that it gives the animal. I mean, if you have to clean up a little bit extra, like once or twice a week for your animal to have fun, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but it is something to consider for people who have like more advanced scapes that don't want to deal with cleaning up every 2 seconds from their turtle, because turtles are messy enough as it is. They don't need any help from any toys or enrichment. But I hope you guys enjoyed that review. Overall, I definitely would suggest this product to food motivated turtle care people. That's English. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.